Welcome, 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 welcome. What's going on? Hope everybody is doing well. Having a great Tuesday. Today in Alabama, we was out voting, doing a lot of voting, getting out, got our voter rights. So we was out doing that, and it took some time up to go help a little at the polls and stuff like that. So y'all know we got to do our part. Everybody got to get out and be a part of this election process. Tonight, we talking about parents, but a different type of parents. We done talked about step-parents. We done talked about parents of child, biological parents. Tonight, we talking about in-laws. I think this is going to be a fun one. I know our producer said he ain't jumping in on this. He has nothing to say about this topic. But I'm pretty sure once we get started, we're going to pull him in. He's going to have to say something. But shout out to everybody that's joined us on the breakdown on Facebook, on the group, the like page. Shout out to the like page, man. Y'all be on point. Y'all really be talking on the like page. I thought it was going to be the other way around, but the like page has been on point, going in, like for real. So shout out to y'all, to everybody who has like page and joined us through the like page or in the group and found out about our shows. We hope you enjoy the shows and be a part of us. Tonight we're talking about in-laws. And I know a couple people going to be joining us a little late, but it is what it is. We finna get into this topic because I wouldn't talk about it. Even if it's just me talking about it, I'm going to talk about it tonight. And you can send all your hate mail and emails to Tonedefradio in case I don't get it. No, let me stop. We talk about in-laws tonight. Now, pretty much in-laws is defined as a relative by marriage. Now, there are a lot of different types of in-laws. You got your mother-in-law, your father-in-law. Case in point, when people say in-laws, that's what they think of first. But a lot of people seem to forget you got brother-in-laws, you got sister-in-law. Some people even recognize cousins-in-law, your aunts, uncles. So it's a lot of different ways that you can go with this. But like I said before, usually when people say in-laws, they think of the mother and father-in-law of their, in-laws. They think of the mother and the father of their spouse. So, I don't know, keeping with that. I guess keeping with that, I don't know. Some people look at in-laws when they first jump into a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be. Others don't see them as in-laws until marriage happens, or they might start calling them in-laws when they get proposed to, and that's how they look at them now. So I want to jump in. I want to talk about this. Had some, not really emails, but there was inboxes asking my opinion of in-laws in relationships, and is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Now, usually when you hear about in-laws, we hear the bad part of it. Because as soon as somebody say, oh, yeah, my mother-in-law, blah, 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 it's always bad. So,
Tread water lightly right there, bro.
I am. But I'm gonna break this down to y'all because, see, I thought you weren't gonna talk.
Well, you by yourself, bro, and you.
But look,
you can't do a whole show by yourself. So no,
but what I'm saying is, like I put myself out there. Now, when I first got married, and I had, met. Let me tell you how I met her father. Her father got in touch with her and said he wanted to meet this man who wanted to marry his daughter. I was the first dude that wanted to marry her. Now, if you remind you, my ex had 5 kids, and I was married into an already made family. And so he wanted to meet me. Now, the way that we met was me going to Chicago because both our parents live in Chicago. And, I was already talking to her mom, met her mom and everything. And her dad was across town from her mom. And so we went to her dad's crib. And I kid you not, I walked in. And they told me, they was like, no, you go first. You the man. You walk in. I'm like, yo, this ain't my crib. Why y'all, this y'all family. I walk in and I find out why they wanted me to go first. Because Pops was standing inside the door with a 12-gauge shotgun.
See,
no lie. This is no lie. This is no lie.
Thing, dog. Honestly, though, not even trying to be funny. We recently had a conversation with me and my guys about that whole entire trying to scare the man off or trying to put fear in your future son-in-law or in some cases your daughter's boyfriend because that's not a good picture. Like we definitely had this conversation about matter of fact, we did it on the Man Cave. Conversation was, why is it that we praise our sons to do certain things but threaten the men that our daughters date as if that's not somebody else's son who their father just praised them to do the same thing. Now, being an older man, I kind of see that bothers me because if you have a daughter who has, you didn't know about this at the time, but you have a daughter who has 5 kids by 5 different men. That means it was 4 other men before you came into the picture. And not only did you come into the picture, you stepped up to take lead of a situation that apparently these other men didn't take leads on. So my whole thing is, why greet this man with a shotgun and not an open handshake?
Sure. I think he wanted to make sure that I was on my P's and Q's. Cause
so
what if honestly, what if that ran you off? Now I'm not saying as a man. And I'm gonna tell you
should. Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you from my point of view as a father of a girl. There's certain qualifications I need you to meet.
But here's the thing, bro. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But at this point in time, your daughter is grown. So you can request all the qualifications, all the stipulations, all the guidelines you want to lay out for a man. And that might not be a single thing your daughter wants. Even worse, your daughter may purposely find a guy that's completely opposite because your parenting skills up to this point probably wasn't the best. Okay? Because the way I look at it like this, you know what, your parenting skills might need to be revisited if your daughter has 4 kids by 4 different men. You come into the picture. Like, let's sit down and talk about this. Maybe it's too late to be trying to threaten any man to see if you're good enough for my daughter. After the second man, you got to be like, baby girl, you got to change your narrative.
and you can do that, but remember, like you said a minute ago, you can tell this woman all you want. Yo, this is a situation. I'm gonna need you to check yourself, whatever the case may be, and she can go against your parenting just because especially with this generation now. Now, if you pay attention to the generation that is coming up right now, dude, I don't remember, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember a time where we could talk back to our parents or to any adult and get away with it. Like it's nothing.
Because the parents, This is why. Okay. You have to remember, specifically me and you, okay? Mm-hmm. We were born in a generation where we're not millennials, okay?
Yeah.
And we're not baby boomers, okay? So what that means is we were born during a time when all the old way of life that everybody talks about, the cheap gas and the cheap bread and the people talking to each other face to face, and granddad, even though he may have had a mistress on the side, he still took care of home kind of scenario. That generation, we were the tail end of that generation. But at the same time, we're not part of the social yet antisocial society that's generating right now. Like we seen the birth of video games, we seen the birth of computers, we seen the birth of internet. Okay, the generation below never lived a life without cell phones, never lived a life without cable, never lived a life where you didn't have to be right in front of somebody to communicate with somebody. Like, you can be on the phone, but even that was restricted. So actual stepping up communication. Because when that left, like when the need to communicate face-to-face went away, so did rules and regulations. So did mothers stepping up, teaching their daughters, okay, yes, I want you to be an independent woman, that you don't never need to depend on a man. But here are some things that if you're going to date that you need to be cautious about. Okay? Here are some things that you need to care about. Here's how a lady should carry herself. You should never do A, B, C, and D. And because that generation, somewhere in our gap, I'm not saying us in general, but somewhere in our gap, honestly, we dropped the ball. Okay, we were so caught up in brand new technology. You got a computer. It might be dial-up, but you got a computer. What is this Black Planet, this social media thing here? This is a new way to communicate with somebody. Or, I got cable 24/7. Not only did we only have one cable provider, but now we got 5 different ways we can get cable. Okay? You don't have to always take Time Warner. You can go Comcast. You can go Dish. You can go DirecTV. You can go AT&T. So there's never not a home that didn't have internet, because there's never not a home that didn't have cable. So you didn't get a baby. You didn't always have a digital babysitter like you have now. So people had to learn from other people. If grandma was cooking, somebody was in the kitchen with grandma. Okay? Grandma was dropping knowledge while teaching you how to cook, regardless of what it was. That gap of learning. Our generation, we didn't do that. I don't know if it's because inflation hit big time, where mom and dad has to work harder and work longer just to have basic necessities, because a $10 an hour job ain't gonna cut it now. Like how a $10 an hour job could have cut back in the 80s. If you had a $10 an hour job, working 1 hour at least filled your gas tank up. So that eliminated some problem. Now there's more expenses that we never heard of. Like the fact that me and Juan was sitting down talking the other day, and we're sitting down talking about it's damn near okay to have an over $150 cell phone bill. When back in the days,
and not blink about it.
And not blink about it. When back in the days, if you had any bill over $150, mama making you cut everything off. Cut off the lights, cut off that fan, cut off this, cut off that. You better get a flashlight to walk through this house. My bill should not be $150. Like, it's not the same anymore. So we're not teaching the generation up under us the right way, because about money, that we're not even going to talk about that. That's a whole nother story. Our generation, because... No, here, real talk. Here's what happened. Mom and dad who was mom and dad in the 80s, in the 70s and in the 80s, was working hard to get a better life. So they can only get us what they can get us because we are trying to make things work. A $10 an hour job was not as easy to come by as you would think. So if you got anything over $10 an hour, you were doing good. What would happen is mom and dad would then create our generation. Our generation had things that we didn't appreciate because it was so much new coming out. Let's use computers and internet for an example. That was new. Didn't every home had one, okay? But those who had one had a gold mine they didn't know that they had about. But mom and dad worked hard to get these things in the house because this is dubbed the future, okay?
That's like them pagers, dude.
Right.
Because back in the day, everybody wanted a pager, but now
everybody. I had one.
They like.
I definitely had.
They like.
Definitely had
a pager for what?
Right.
And you still had to go call people
right.
for the payphone.
Right. But, okay. So I can hurry up and finish up this rant so we can get back to the main topic. So what happened was our parents bust hard to give us things and opportunities that they didn't have. And then there was some people who didn't get anything but bare minimum, okay, which was perfectly fine in my opinion, all right? But what happened was those kids who had to scrounge to make money learned how to work harder, okay? So now they're bringing home big money and they're taking the jobs that, not saying they wasn't there before, but it wasn't top priority. But when we find out that these jobs pay good money now because the baby boomers are getting old and the baby boomers want you to take care of them, so they're willing to pay you $30 an hour to be a nurse now if you're willing to go to school for it. Okay. Now these kids, these especially these mothers, they'll go and they'll take these jobs like these CNA jobs and these nursing jobs and these medical-based jobs, and they will turn around and spend the money on the kids to have what they didn't have on the materialistic side of it. Okay?
Correct.
So what's happening is instead of giving them the time and the nurturing that you're supposed to have, you're giving them the materialistic things and trying to buy them instead. And you're buying these things thinking, well, growing up as a kid, I never got a chance to have a pair of Jordans, so I'm always going to make sure my son or my daughter always has the new latest Jordans. Now, the difference between back then and now is Jordans were $65. Jordans were $75. So that, to me, if you had that mentality when Jordans were only $65, $75, cool. Buy every color you can get your hands on. But when a pair of Jordans cost $250 to $300,
inflation.
Is that really a smart? And it's the same shoe. That's the crazy part. It's the same shoe. It's not a new model. It might be a different color in some cases, but it's still the same shoe. Now, I'm not knocking anybody who gets Jordans. If that's what you want to do with your money, that's what you need to do with your money. That's your business. As long as you're handling your business first. So what it is now these kids are getting this mentality that image is more important than anything, to the point that now you got guys who will go out and buy $100 belt, $150 jeans, $300 shoes, a $75 shirt, $300 sunglasses, okay? But will be driving a $500 car.
Yeah.
Will have a minimum wage job. Or they can't always seem to keep a job. It's always they don't have any kind of respect when they're in certain situations. They feel like, number one, they should automatically get the promotion because they've been here for 3 years, more so than do you have the skill set to handle the promotion. Are you a people person? Have you learned people skills? Let's be honest. As a black person, have you learned how to handle white people? That's a skill you need in this day and age. Like, you got to understand how to not seem so aggressive to white people, but still be you. Like, that's probably one of the hardest things in the workforce you have to learn how to do that I feel you should never have to do. But it's there. Okay? So the problem is a lot of parents are not doing the hands-on teaching anymore, and the kids are learning from each other. The kids are learning from TV. Or even worse, parents are disrespectful. Mama cusses you out every single time you do something wrong, so you feel like that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to cuss. You're supposed to fight. You're supposed to argue. Yeah. And then that generation, the generation right below us, the generation benefiting from all this materialistic love, is now creating another generation of careless behaviors. They don't care about anything. They're lazy. Okay? They feel like they're supposed to be given anything. We now have an entitled generation. Okay? We have a generation who wakes up and expects to be given a $20 an hour job, to the point that we got people who work at McDonald's protesting for $15 an hour. Now, my whole thing is, and I'm not knocking McDonald's workers, but let's be honest. When you look at a lot of fast food workers, if they're not teenagers or older people who are just doing this because they're at their retirement age, but they need another income anyway, and McDonald's is only paying enough to help them take care of stuff, and they keep them social, okay? But you got to look at that group in between, okay? That group of people from 23 to 40. Why are you working at McDonald's? Do you feel like you deserve $15 an hour? Do you need $15 an hour? Most definitely. Your living conditions might require you to need a $2 an hour job because of all your life choices you've made. But do you feel like you deserve $15 an hour? Okay? Because your skill set is not comparable or comparable for you to be in a normal workforce that would give you that, and on top of that, your people skills probably suck as well too. Okay? So I can't sit here and say that you need that. Now, with this rant now drawing to a close, because I did go a lot longer than I expected, we have to get back to the basics, okay? And getting back to the basics meaning we need to get back to where we are teaching the generation below us a little bit a day, okay? A little bit a day. I don't care if you're just teaching them how to be better persons or teaching them how to love one another. And I know that's kind of hard. Like, you can't love it. Because sometimes that's a lesson you need to teach people. Like, I can't teach you, you got to learn that when you grow up, there's going to be a time when everybody who you want to love you is not going to love you the same way you love them. So you got to learn how to not give your all or put all your eggs in one basket, okay? Now, getting back to in-laws, sometimes that's where you get that from. Now, I didn't want to get on this show because I didn't know what directions y'all was going with in-laws. And for those who don't know, I stay with my in-laws. This is the second time, okay? And it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a benefit for all of us. Sometimes it's just a better living choice in some cases. But one thing I can say about living with my in-laws is you learn to look at life a little bit differently. Because the way you're raised in your own household, there may be some freedoms that you're accustomed to, okay? Yeah. Like, for an example, your ex-wife's father. Even though I'm highly against that kind of approach, especially now that I'm older and I have two girls of my own, I'm kind of against that approach. But at the same time, that's a custom that the family was used to. The dad would say something, and you honored it. You respected it. You took it as heart. You took it as law. If dad says, hey, I don't like him, they listen. Some households do that. Okay? Yeah. Other ones, mama hold it down. If mama say, hey, this is not how I do things in my house, this is how we do things, you going to listen. End the story. And that's something I have to get used to. See, because me and my mother, we grew up together. Okay? My mom, of course, my mom got remarried because she's been on the breakdown on earlier episodes, as well as my stepdad. So that's another aspect that I had to learn how to deal with as well, too. But me and my mom grew up. My mom had me when she was a teenager. And I'm not Like last year, high school. So basically, her whole 20s was raising me. Okay. It wasn't until her late 30s that I kind of started doing my own thing, so she started doing her own thing. But it was always that whole entire, we had our own dynamics. Even to this day, you can still see that dynamics between me and my mom, where me and my mom would have healthy debates. Okay? Some people might look at it as talking back. But then again, I'm like, I'm almost 40. It's like, if I can't talk back now, what the hell? You know, they can always do what she say. But no, me and my mom used to have
still, you know.
I know some people still put the law down, but you know, after a while, me and my mom got into it, and she had to back up. I would always get into her like, "Stop treating me like I'm 16." Like, dude, what happened then is this is a whole nother story. Let me roll this. So she still do that. But my stepdad, he did bring a whole dynamic that I wasn't accustomed to. Like I said before, me and my dad wasn't really close, even though he had 3 other kids. I never really associated with my brothers and my sisters from him. So all my family connections, my siblings' connections, came because of my stepdad. Okay? 5 of my sisters are my stepdad's daughters. Okay? So that was a large part of my sibling connection. My younger brother is autistic, so he kind of wasn't really someone I can have a sibling connection to, because from the day he was born, he was always looked upon as like one of my, like a child of mine, more so than my brother. He's more of a responsibility in regards to, you have to do A, B, C, D with your brother. Okay? Not that my brother was a problem, but it's like sometimes certain things I couldn't enjoy life the way I wanted to because of his autism. And it wasn't a bad thing. It's just, it was an adjustment. A lot of people are now dealing with this adjustment because they're starting autistic kids, and they're starting to see things a little bit differently and starting to learn how to handle things. And believe me, I get a lot of phone calls with assistance on that. And I try to help as much as possible. But my sisters from my stepdad really gave me a different outlook on life that, as a male, I needed, because one was really clingy and one really needed that older sibling, older brother part in her life. The other 2, we were in about the same age category. So these were my kicking it partners. So if I went out to the club, or I was going to go out that night, I'll hit my sisters up. Like, hey, where you going? And then I know I have a group of people that I can hang out with. If I didn't want to go, if I wanted to go by myself, I know where I can meet my sister and her friends at. So I don't feel like that social loner that's just out here because my guys are too busy. You know, my sisters became my crutch in a lot of social sense. They became my social life at a time and point. You know, I had another sister who was a habitual grinder. Like, she stayed grinding. Even to this day, she still grind harder than anything I've ever seen. Probably the hardest working woman I've ever seen. Okay? And those were habits that I can, like, dude, if I can get up and do this, if my sister can get up and do A, B, C, D, there's no reason I can't get this little thing done here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then my other sister, she felt the same way I felt in the way life was. So that was like more like my emotional person I could bounce off of. Like, she felt like an only child, or she felt like her sister was a burden to her because of how her lifestyle was and how she was living, and she got a lot of responsibility dropped on her that she never asked for. So I could relate to that. Like, we would literally bond over simple things like that. So when they would come, it was a great thing. It was like, dude, this is awesome. Like, I needed this in my life when I was younger, but I didn't have it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have it. So I got to find something else to work around. So me and her stayed in touch in regards to that. But eventually, when she got older and was able to get from up under the burden of responsibilities from her blood sister, we lost connections. She bonded with her cousin, and that became a whole nother world that I'm like, I kind of don't want to get a part of because I got my own 2 little girls to raise. So it was a catch-22. So, yeah, in-laws can definitely be more of a help then they can be a burden. I know a lot of people like to point out that mother-in-law that's always nagging and causing problems and being extra, they always want to point out, like in your case, who wants to always test your manhood for no reason whatsoever.
And I've seen that, like, in my case with the mother-in-law, we had some conflicts in the beginning. And I tell you what turned it around for us. What turned it around for us was one day my ex-wife wasn't around. I can't remember if she had took the kids out. Something happened. And her mom called the crib, and she was looking for her. And we just started talking, just little crazy stuff, little stuff. It didn't make sense to me. Just, nonchalant speaking and talking about the kids and all this kind of stuff. Well, one thing turned to another, and I look up, and we've been on the phone for 3 hours. And I was like, whoa.
Once people, what happens is people will put up a defense. They will put up a wall. Yeah. They'll prejudge you before they even had an opportunity to understand what's going on. Okay?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even though the woman or the husband in whoever scenario is not comparing you to their past, the family still is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
You look. They know more about the past relationships than you do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, in like taking your situation for an example, I feel like the family was kind of disrespectful when it came to you, because if you knew the truth about your sister, your cousin, your daughter, they should have been real enough to come to you and say, "Hey, bro, this is what you're getting into." They shouldn't have waited. It's too late. It's the last minute. Now we're at that point when we want to, you're getting ready to say I do. Now they want to put this out there. Because that could have been a whole game changer. You may have not decided to marry her. And I'm not saying that you probably would.
It probably, I don't know. Because if I knew some of that stuff beforehand, and granted, I love my daughter to death. Like, regardless of what's going on now and everything, but yeah, if I would have known some of that stuff.
Right,
even with me and her mom's situation, it turned into, it did a complete 360, because I was going to say, next thing I know, her mom would call the house and ask to speak to me. And we would sit on the phone for a minute. Like, I'm talking about on the phone for a good minute, just talk. And she'd be like, "Hi, let me talk to your wife and the kids before I get off the phone real quick." And she probably talked to them for like 5 minutes. And my ex hated that. Oh, she hated it. Because in the beginning, it was all, anything that was said about me, and I was going to talk about that later, but anything that's said to mama about me, it was truth and it was knowledge, and I can't believe it. Why are you doing my daughter like that? And I know it's probably some guys going through that now because they feel like, their parents, or even women going through it, because your in-laws, that's their child. So ain't nothing happening with their child. Their child say something went down, it went down. And they coming on you.
Of course. Like
they coming after you, bro.
But sometimes, and this is the thing, sometimes they also know that their child is not wholesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they definitely know that. And a lot of times I always felt that when you're in these situations when your child is getting ready to take that next step, that's when you need to have that conversation. One thing that I always give Teresa's parents a respect for was prior to before we got married, they sat us down and actually had a conversation with us. They wanted to make sure if this is something we really wanted to do, where we were in our head, what was our goals, the whole plans, the whole 9 yards. So we actually had that little conversation. My mom sat down, had the same conversation with us. Well, my mom and my stepdad sat down, had the same conversations with us. Nothing was ever
we did. We did the same thing.
About. And it wasn't one of those like, yeah, man, let me make sure you good for my daughter. It was more, or let me see if you're the right woman for my son. It was like, no, let's just see where y'all heads are, because some people get married for all the wrong reasons. You know,
true.
And some parents just want to make sure that is for the right reason, because you'll get some parents that just want to push their kid off on somebody, like. We never thought that she would ever get out this house, yeah. Like we never thought she would ever date anybody, let alone get married. We already spent the wedding money because we didn't think she was ever gonna get married. Like, I personally haven't had to deal with that, but I have seen it happen, because my boy, when he was getting ready to get married to his wife, basically said, I just thought my son was going to get married. We was going to try to put up some money to, get him a nice gift, but we thought we was wasting our time. I was like, damn. I know the nigga ain't shit, but I know your son ain't shit, but damn.
I've heard of that, too. You look at some of the, I don't know, man. Like me being big bro. Now, I don't know if I ever talked about that, but I am like the oldest of 4. I think, I was the first one to get married. And then my oldest sister, no, my brother got married before her. My brother got married. And then it was like on down the line. My baby sister was the last one to get married. And even with kids, it's the same way. My sister is actually supposed to be being induced Friday with her baby. But it was kind of like me even watching the situation of what I went through because back in the day, like, our whole things was, even before talking about marriage or anything, meeting the parents. Like, you want to meet the parents. You want to see what's going on. The gentleman thing to do, manly thing to do, is to meet the parents. Nowadays, they don't even do that no more. Like, I don't even.
You have to remember, like I was saying before, a lot of parents are not that active in their kids' lives. Okay. Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of kids, or a lot of the generation now, they're so quick to want to be self-sufficient and be grown and do what they're supposed to do. A lot of them want to get out from up under their parents' thumb. Some parents are very strict, but of course, we grew up with strict parents, so they're just doing what they were taught to do. Then you get the rebellious ones who don't want to, listen and live under the thumb of their parents. So they'll move around. They'll disown their family because they didn't agree with some of the views and the rules and regulations that the parent was trying to instill on them. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then you get those one rare occasions where they came from a very damaged home. There may have been some abuse, whether it's physically, emotionally, sadly, sexually. That kind of abuse that has occurred in the household where they don't want nothing to do with anybody in this family because it's just not beneficial. It's not. So, there's those situations. And then there's just blatant don't want to listen, okay? So it's like, I don't want to listen to what you have to say. I don't want to live the way you want me to live. Matter of fact, I'm going to do the exact opposite. You want me to get a wholesome Christian man, I'm going to get a biker riding Muslim. So, just because, so you get those scenarios. What can you do? You know what I'm saying? It's just try to make sure you do the best that you can do to instill, common sense in your kid and hope that they learn from their mistakes before it's too late. That's literally all you can do as a parent these day and age.
Because, back in the day, hearing them say, we've been in your shoes, we know what you're going through, you should hear what we saying, was kind of like, man, whatever. But then you catch yourself saying the same thing to your kids.
Of course. But it's all about, the thing about it is it's all about how you word it now compared to before. See, our parents used to say, we've been there where you are, so there ain't nothing you can do that I don't know or that I don't already know about, which is true. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, hey, your struggles, these ain't new struggles. I've had those struggles before. So let me tell you how I got through them, okay? That's the difference from before and then. Growing up, our parents was what we said is law, okay? Yeah. There was no debating. Yeah. There was no doing it any other way. It was what I said is law. You do it my way because I know for a fact my way works. My way has always worked. So this is what you're going to do. Society changed, So things started being different for us, the way we got stuff done, So a lot of things get done. A lot of things get done, on the computer now, We don't go out to social events and meet anymore. We go to social websites, We go to social media, That's how we do things now, And even growing up, if your parents found out that you met through something that was not a direct contact situation. So if I didn't meet you at some club or some grocery stores or hanging out at whatever spot we hanging out at, if I didn't meet you that way, if I met you any other way, your parents would look at you like, that's not normal. That's not right. Now it's like, I seen your mama on the internet and I slid in her DMs. Like, oh, okay. All right. You're right. That's just life, So a lot of things
I called it. I so called it because of the way I met her. Like, and
that's another difference in how things go down now, because even though you meeting people via social media, which is normal, ain't nothing wrong with that at all, sometimes you don't meet the true person, okay?
Yeah.
Catfishing was a huge thing when social media first started, to the point where now it's to the point where you got to literally use technology to video chat somebody just to make sure you seeing who they are. Like, you can't go off this. You can't go off what how they describe themselves. You can't do that now. You have to have some kind of visual, which is why there's so many social media avenues out there that will give you instant video communication. Because there's no more excuses. Like Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, everything has video interaction now. Before you would have to download an app to kind of give you a video chatting kind of a thing, and even then the quality might have been grainy, or you had to go out and buy an iPhone. That's actually one of the biggest things that helped make iPhones popular in the beginning, because they were one of the first phones to have not only a camera built into it, but a great quality camera if the other person had an iPhone as well too. So now it was like there's no excuses for me not to see what you look like. Don't give me that lie anymore.
You're right.
And now even the generation above us are taking advantage of that. There's apps specifically for 40 and older, 50 and older, 60 plus. Hell, not only do they apps, there's group chats. There's group pages. Like, hey, 65 and fine. You know, like they in there.
Yeah,
they going.
Yeah.
they going, but they in there. I'm just using it as an example, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of different ways things can be done now that the older generation is just now catching up to. And to be honest with you, there are things that the generation below us is probably doing that we don't have no idea of.
No.
And when we catch wind of it, we like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Because I see a lot of stuff that's on, what is that? That Snapchat?
Right.
And the stuff, the way you could do certain things on that, I'm like,
and ironically,
what?
And that's the funny thing. Using Snapchat as a prime example. In the beginning, when Snapchat was first created, when I first heard about Snapchat, was because a lot of the younger generation was using it as an opportunity to trade nudes back and forth.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Catch 22 with that was because Snapchat only had a 24-hour window. No, take that back.
No, it
Snapchat
was
had
quicker than that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Once you view it, it automatically disappears. So you didn't even have a chance to save it. And if you did attempt to save it, it notifies the other person that you took a screenshot of it. So it started aiding people in the ability to kind of be a little... Okay? Now, on one side of the coin, I'm like, that's terrible that you need to go to these extents to do something like that. But we live in a society that needs to be done. So sadly, that is the world we live in. But enough about that. We're not even going to talk about that because that's a whole other life. For anybody.
A whole show on that. We can do
a whole show.
Man.
I'm not even trying to live that life. Let's get back on topic. Yeah, Now, outside the fact that you had the experience with your father-in-law, did you have any other kind of bad experiences with your in-laws?
Bad? The only bad side of it was when word got around that we were separating, and her dad pretty much hit me up like, "Hey, we had this conversation, and you messing up." At the same time, he was only hearing one side of it.
That's how it usually is.
Yeah, my side wasn't getting given. Usually with the in-laws, that's what happens. And so it was pretty much, I can't say I fought them for that because that's their daughter, that's their baby girl. It's the, well, no, she ain't the only girl, but that's their daughter. And it's like with men, I know with men, especially, and Tone, you probably could attest to this, having a daughter, you look at things a little different. Regardless of the fact of you feel like your daughter did something wrong, we kind of look at it differently, like, man, that's my little baby girl. And at the time, for real, I don't even know, because I've never even asked or anything. Even now, if they know what went on or what happened or what was going on at the time. But yeah, other than that, for real, we had a good relationship. Even after the fact of him putting that gun on me, we laughed about that thing. We sat there and laughed about it and talked about it for a good little minute. Before he even left or anything. So,
well,
I don't know. I don't know, man.
All right. So going back to the fact that, of the one-sidedness of the in-laws conversation, that does tend to happen. A lot of times we do and I have to say we because it's not just only, women, men do it too. We tend to go immediately to the defense of our kids, okay? Mm-hmm. But I think as parents now going forward, we need to step away from just immediately let me take my kids' side of everything, and when we get home, I'll check them. No, we need to get to the point where we start holding our kids accountable even at the moment things are going on. Okay, I know for a fact a lot of mothers have done this. Even when I was growing up, I would often see moms chastising the teacher because of things that have been said or done when it comes to their kids, not realizing your kid is the one that initiated this, fault. And the fact that we even got to this point was because your kid wouldn't obey it. Then you turn around and instead of nipping it in the bud with the teacher around, you shout at the teacher for whatever actions he or she did, and then you go home and yell at your kid. You just prove to your kid that responsibilities doesn't have to lie in regards to the moment or the manner. Like, as long as
this generation, because I remember. I don't know about you, but I've got pulled out of class a few times.
Oh, my mom didn't.
When I was younger, bruh.
Like, I've got pulled.
I wipe your face before you go back to class.
I've got whole whoopings in class while the kids can see it.
Sure.
Like
sometimes we used to get whooping by teachers.
And I never got that far.
That's touchy. But
my younger years, I seem to almost always had Christian teachers or white teachers. So discipline was a touchy subject even then. And then, of course, I got the public schools, and you damn sure ain't doing that in no public school, bro.
Man. Yeah. Well. Okay. Yeah. You're right. No, because I was in what was I here? 5th grade when this happened. When this was going on. And it was like, I don't know, maybe it was just to us, but it was like the norm because I remember us getting in trouble for instance, not having homework. When you didn't bring your homework to class, that was a certain amount of licks.
Nah, bro.
Maybe that's just me.
No, you live in the South, so there was a lot of beatings being handed out for no reason. So that's just.
I'm just saying,
nobody to beat on, so they took it to the schools. So that's all I gotta say about that. Like, damn, we ain't got no play.
They had nobody to beat on, so they took it to the school.
So let's just start beating the kids.
Black teachers, though. They weren't. We never had an issue. Well, I don't never remember me, but I remember 2 teachers, in fact, 5th grade, and they were both black, and they were both, like I said, 5th grade teachers. They were right across the hall from each other. One had a leather paddle, and he also had a wooden one that had holes in it. And the one across from him had used a pogo stick. I'd never forget dude. A pogo stick. You know how the pogo stick is screw into the bottom of the... I'll never forget this, dude.
Who do you go to?
Bruh, it was a public school. It was public school, and we down here.
First of all, why he even got a pogo stick to begin with? That just don't sound safe.
I'm just, hey.
I need you to reevaluate.
And it was like, yo, regardless of how many questions you missed or you didn't do your homework, this how many licks you got.
See? No, them just people who just
at the same time though.
Enjoy youth,
but no, at the same time, my generation, well, people that grew up with me, good to school with me at that time, majority of us good people. I don't think none of us had like issues as far as discipline issues and that kind of problem.
See, nowadays, and my thing about I know where you're going with this. I really do. I know where you're going with this. But
I'm just because I'm saying back in my day, and yeah, I'm older than you, Tone, so you know it's a little different. But I remember being told that don't let such and such tell us. My mom telling us or my dad, because in the street it's known, yo, you catch Jacob cutting up, get him. They ain't have a problem with that. Okay. Nowadays, even like what you were saying earlier about parents going to the schools and snapping on teachers and stuff like that, that wasn't going on back then. If you got in trouble, you was told you was in trouble.
But
you
look
got
at
double.
Okay. But look at. Let's sit back right now. Look at what was happening compared to now. Now, first of all, if your teacher, who now has law to be able to whoop you, generally has no real reason other than the fact that you did homework and they're handing out lashings, at a point in time, that's no longer a whooping, dog. That's abuse. Okay? That's abuse. Okay?
I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, that's abuse.
That's why I said no names. Don't contact me. I'm not telling.
There's no legitimate reason for it. And this is abuse. Now, I'm not saying that something like some form of discipline or responsibility doesn't need to occur in this day and age. Yeah, there needs to be some accountability for kids' actions, which they clearly don't have. But physical is not always the answer. My mom used the belt for everything. It did not matter what the issue was. And that, to me growing up, and I still say it to this day, to me growing up, the belt honestly didn't do anything to steer me from doing right or wrong. Okay? Because kids get smart and they realize, I'll just take this whooping and I can go back and do whatever I want. Okay?
And that's what used to happen.
Right. We live in a digital age right now. So whooping a kid this day and age means nothing, because they'll go jump online and be like, man, shoot, I'm mad at my parents. I got a whooping for A, B, C, D, and that's it. You know, like I still can play my game. I still got my tablet.
But if you take away them electronics nowadays,
that's what I'm saying. Discipline is different. That's another thing, though. You got to remember, because we live in a materialistic world where parents reward kids. Don't even reward kids. Parents just buy kids stuff because they didn't get a chance to have it as a kid. It doesn't hold weight when you take stuff from them anymore. Like, parents don't, that's not an option to some parents. They don't look at it like that. Like, I'm going to take your tablet from you. But you still going to go buy him some $200 Jordans. You still going to get him the new Xbox game. Like, him to go do A, B, C, D. So, really, does it matter?
I was just saying that the other day.
Like, it doesn't matter now. Like,
that is so real.
Yeah, I take your tablet, but you still leave 87 other things he can do to keep him occupied. You know, you don't tell your kids to go outside and play instead, because, of course, you can't trust folks these days. But at the same time, maybe if you will police your neighborhood more often and keep tabs on what's going on in the world.
You're right. It was different back then, because that used to be our punishment. Well, you can't go outside. You be inside throwing a fit. Kids don't care about that no more.
And that's when kids had no problem getting up. Like, man, I'll go ahead and take this whooping, dog. I'll be right back outside playing baseball.
Yeah. You know, I remember, I'm telling my age now.
Don't nobody care.
I'm telling my age because I remember playing hide and go seek till the lights went out. The lights came on. That's when it really went down.
Remember, life didn't happen until after dark, bruh. I'm saying. Sometimes
that's
you got
back in the day. Them the good old days.
Sometimes you got risky and purposely tried to be late. Well, just
no, I'm gonna get in trouble, but okay, never mind.
Yeah, man, it's just like that's life, bruh. Just life.
But like, I don't know, like we saying, it's different. It's different day and age now. parents deal with their kids differently. Dealing with the in-laws is like, I don't know. Like, okay, Tom, for instance, I ask this question: is there a way? Let's say, for instance, you don't get along with your wife's parents. Y'all just ain't got a good relationship. Every time they see you, it's like they looking down their nose at you. They, like you said before, you ain't good enough for their daughter. They still feel that way, regardless of how long y'all been together.
Right.
Is there a way to turn that thing around? Like, is there a way to make them see differently than what they actually think? Now, mind you, y'all done been together for a minute now.
Okay.
But they still looking at you that way.
A lot of it
go ahead.
You got to start with your spouse first. A lot of times communication with your in-laws comes from the fact of the way your spouse is perceiving you to your in-laws. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're being perceived as the hardest working man ever to happen to her, she doesn't know where she would be in life if it wasn't for this man God blessed me with, then of course the mom and dad is going to love you to death. But if your spouse only brings the negative things that happens in the relationship to the other side of the family, then they're going to view it from that point of view, unless they sit down and see it themselves. Now, if that's not the case, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead.
Go what you finna say. No, go what you finna say. Go off.
I was going to say, you speaking of that point. Now, okay, this is my personal thing. If you still have, like, say for instance, you and your spouse get into it. Now, you ain't put no hands on her. Words being said. She all that stuff, all kind of craziness, which I've seen this happen before. And the parents get brought into it because you know that happens. Oh, he did again. Now he's doing this, and now he's doing this. Every time you turn around, she's calling her parents, or he's calling his parents to tell them what is going on with you. She ain't telling what she's doing or what he's doing. I ain't telling that. They just telling they part of it to them, like making you out to be the bad guy.
Back over there.
I see. Well, this is my personal feelings.
All right.
Unless they see what's going on, it's going to be a problem.
And that's the issue. And I do apologize for the noise. My two youngest ones are completely turned up. No, the thing about it is in those particular situations, there's nothing you can do about it. The problem is your significant other is purposefully creating this scenario of how you are. Mm-hmm. Okay? They are. Mm-hmm. So you can only do one of two things. You can either go ahead and accept the scenario that's being created for you, or you can go ahead and fight with the parents to rectify it. For an example.
Is that wise, though? Is that wise?
First of all, if you're getting this you're getting this information from somebody. So somebody is telling you that this is what your wife is doing, okay, or your husband is doing, okay? They're letting the world know that you're doing these things. If they're true or not, it's being publicized, okay? Let's say it's not true, okay? If it's being publicized and it's not true, then you really have to question why is supposed to be spending the rest of your life with making up these stories to her family member, okay? So then at that point, you got to reevaluate the relationship itself. If it's the first time you guys got into a fight and this is the behavior they showed, then maybe it's time to question the relationship. Maybe I made a mistake by marrying this person. Maybe we need to really talk about your behavior, because just because you can't get your way, being petty is not the answer. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Like, what happens if we fall on hard times and we have to move in with your parents, or your parents get sick and they need to move in with us? Okay, now you create this space that everyone thinks I'm this kind of a person. So now we're tiptoeing on eggshells around the house, and our own house we're tiptoeing around because you decide to go and tell your dad he's this and he's that and I can't. And the whole thing was you were mad because you couldn't spend money that you guys were trying to save up to get a house on a purse. Okay, you wouldn't. Or Beyonce announced a concert, and the concert was $1,000, and he told you if it's not coming out your own pocket, to hell with it, And she was expecting you to give her half the money, Talking $1,000 tickets here, so she wants you to drop $500 or allow you to take $500 out of the building fund. You
sound like a church. Is this a church?
Hey, bro.
She said the
building fund is real. Building fund is real.
That's hilarious.
Church just won't call the building fund what it really is, which is bills. Like, all right, this is the bill. Keep these doors open. If they would just call it what it is, they wouldn't have no problem, but they won't call it what it is. So everybody questions it. No, but seriously, though, in that case, you got to look at the relationship because there's no reason why she should be going back telling these lies. Number two, if she is telling the truth, but she's running back to her parents and telling her parents everything in regards to it, well, maybe she's looking at her parents for guidance and what to do because this is not something she's accustomed to. She's not accustomed to having to be in a relationship where arguments can get very hostile. They might not get violent. They get hostile, though, to each other. It's very, aggressive. She may not came from an aggressive household, okay? She may have came from a household where you can sit down and actually have regular conversation. Now, at the same time, look at her. Look at, is she a person who's willing to accept responsibilities for her own actions as well, too? So is she telling these things, but she's telling it to make it seem like she's the victim? Some people love playing the victim and then admit their fault later on down the road when all blame has been put on you already, and then they'll be like, well, you know what, Daddy, I'm sorry. I actually was A, B, C, D, and this is the reason. Now, Mom is, can't stand you and don't want you coming over for Thanksgiving. Dad want to take you out to the woodshed and put two in you. And it's all because you made up this fictitious story to make it seem like, you just out here just doing his baby girl so wrong. Well, in actuality, you probably trying to get her right. It's like, man, your daughter, she won't listen, she this, she that. And finally, you got to put forth the effort to communicate with the parents. Reach out to them on times when you don't have a problem going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we in town for the weekend. Hang out with Dad. Offer to take the parents out to eat. You know what I'm saying? So everybody can sit down, have a conversation, and see how each other interact. Don't be afraid of whatever questions they ask you. Even during the dating phase, don't be afraid of the questions they ask. A lot of men avoid the parents most of the time, only show up on holidays, and wonder why relationships are so iffy,
Yeah, that's true. That's true for real.
You got to step up.
That a lot.
Like,
you need to be around more.
I come from a household where if you family, you family. There's no second part to it. There's no prefix to it. It's sister, cousin, mom, dad. It's all the same. Okay? You're not my stepmom. You're not my mother-in-law. You're my other mother, my mom. You're still family to me. So everything is treated the same way in regards to responsibilities, tasks, the whole 9 yards. Now, do I want my own place? Most definitely. But if I have to stay here with my in-laws a little bit longer for the greater good of my family as a whole, then so be it.
It's
you know?
Be it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
it's going
to be a situation where we're going to eventually help them out. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. But if it's I don't know. That's just my personal thing. I mean, it all depends on how that relationship is. To me, how the relationship is with those in-laws as far as moving in. Because I've had friends tell me, I'm thinking about moving in with my in-laws or whatever the case may be. And like you said, I've also heard on down the line where the parents get older and they don't want to put them like in a home or nothing like that. And so their thing is, I'm going to have my parents stay or their parents stay with us or whoever it is. And it's a little, if you have a relationship with those in-laws, regardless, it's way better in the end. It might be a fight tooth and nail, like I said, beforehand to get to that part. But like Tone said, later on, it's going to be well worth it putting up with certain things. Because I've even heard situations where it's like I've moved in or moved my parents in or whatever the case may be, and the parents do stuff that spouse don't do certain things. Like, say, okay, for instance, like, say the parents drink. And I don't see that much, but it happens. Say the parents drink or whatever, or have some kind of bad, thing that they do to us. Bad habit, because I don't do that. But the parents do. And then it turns into a thing of, well, right now, mom or dad ain't working. They ain't working. They up in age. I got to go get their stuff for them. And
sometimes, okay, so this is the way I look at it. Okay, this is the way I look at it, and this is the way I feel all people who have issues with their in-laws. Number one, the woman or the man that you are currently married to is here because of those in-laws. Okay, so if you can do small things to make them feel comfortable, that's your way of thanking them for giving you this person you're married to. Because you can always look back at past relationships and folks who you thought was going to be the one and they turned out being hot garbage. That could be the person you're married to instead. So that's one of the pluses to it. Okay? Mm-hmm. 2, everybody has different personalities. One of the biggest things in the world that I think a lot of people tend to forget is when people get older, they hate losing their independency. Okay? They hate. If they've been, like, you get these dads who have been on their own, did everything with their hand, handled things on their own, got things done by themselves, they don't want to have to depend on somebody. They hate it with a passion, okay? So now they their kids. Then you have to also look at how they feel about it, how they feel about each other, because sometimes that same in-law might have been passed around by the kids too. Okay?
Yeah.
They might have been passed around.
I've seen that too.
So now it's like, am I here because
nobody else
want me here,
with it?
Or am I here because nobody else deal with me? Now I feel like a burden. Okay? Now I feel like less than a human being, because if this kid don't want to keep me, then I might end up in a home, and we all know that once you're in a home, it's a wrap in some cases. Homes are not always the best living situation for a lot of people because they just don't do things right. Okay, so parents get to start questioning life as a whole. Then, definitely, your parents sometimes turn into that other kid. But they're worse than your kids because they're stubborn and they gave birth to you, so you really can't tell them nothing. Like, I told you to do that, I do what I want. And you got to really start caring about them. So it's a new responsibility, and you got to be very patient and cautious with it. Like, don't be upset because the in-laws are moving in. Try to make the transition as comfortable as possible. If you have issues about the in-laws and you're not that close-knitted kind of a thing where, you know, you and Bob can talk about everything together because you've always been that kind of person, then go through the spouse. You don't like something your mom's doing, tell your spouse. You know, hey, man, your mom's, she be in the crib smoking, you know. Don't like that. Matter of fact, should she be smoking? What is it, you know, let the daughter handle being and respond to it.
That will work sometimes.
So we can go ahead and end tonight's show like the only way we know how. To the